Welcome to the Ken Duncan Gallery and our COVID-safe virtual exhibition, Walking in the Wild, celebrating our new book. So come on into the gallery and join us. There you go. So here's one of our first prints. This is one that I really love, and I loved it so much I put it on the front of the book. And this is just one of the most beautiful, perfect leopards I've ever seen. This one, the bigger, the better, because when you look at the detail, you can see every vein in its eyes. Now, all the prints you're going to see, you can do in various sizes. If you've got a big enough wall, why not flaunt it? Because the shots can look fantastic big. So that's that one, and this one's called Eyes of Africa. Now, this is one we've had around before, and when we displayed it, everybody kept saying, Ken, when are you going to do the book? When are you going to do the book? So finally, we've done the book and it's here now and available online. So this one here is a classic print of ours. This is where I really started a lot of my wildlife experience, shooting on film with very wide angle lenses. And people, if they know this shot, it's called The Power of One. This actual image has sold out. There's 300 in the edition, but they've all sold out. We're lucky we're able to buy one back from our clients, and that's what happens with our work. Once it sells out, the only way you can buy it is you have to buy it back from clients, and sometimes that's hard to convince them to sell because they get so attached as a family to the print, and it's something that they can hand down as an heirloom, and if it's worth more now, the longer you hang on, the better it is. So this one, we're able to get one back. Now this one here, this is in you can do different framing than what we show you today. This is what they call a Bellini frame, and it's quite a magical frame. But these are now selling for about $10,000 or $12,000. That's what they're selling. We've only got one of that at the exhibition. So we were fortunate to get one because we thought we had to have a Power of One at our wildlife exhibition. So this is one of the brand new ones. This was shot in Churchill in Canada. And it's probably one of my favourite areas. Now, the story behind this shot, I was up there with a group. We were running a tour up there, and all the polar bears were hanging around Churchill because they're all waiting for the ice to freeze over on the Hudson there. And then what happens is when the ice freezes over, they all go out onto the ice and they go in search of the seals because that's their real hunting time. So while we were there, the ice hadn't formed, and we were getting some great shots of polar bears, and I was going to stay on an extra week when the group left. And so the night before the group was going to leave, all of a sudden this huge blizzard came in, and overnight this whole area started to ice up. It had already been starting to ice up a bit, but overnight it iced up. And then all the polar bears basically took off out across the ice to go in search of the seals. Now, they are so patient that what they will do, they will actually sit and find a hole in the ice waiting for the seals to come up because the seals have to breathe at some stage. And they will sometimes spend days just watching. And when I flew in and I decided to go in search of the polar bears because I knew they'd gone out onto the ice, and everybody had said to me, oh, Ken, it's so sad that now all the polar bears have gone. But actually, when everybody left, I got some of the most amazing shots ever. I'll share another one later as well. But this one, we went out and we found these two sitting there, and they were just staring at the water, waiting for a seal to pop up. And I've got to tell you, these are one of the most powerful hunters and so concentrated. So they sat there waiting, and even one of them refused to look at me, and the other one looked up just to make sure I wasn't a threat. And so I called this one On the Edge because they're out there waiting to get their feed of seals. So off we go and we'll show you some more. Right, here we go, another one. The classic old zebras. Zebras are funny animals. They can tend to really play with you, a bit like sheep. Often they'll let you just get so close, and just about when you're ready to take the shot, they'll just turn away. And actually in Africa, there's this saying that you can get a quadruple A shot, and they'll go, oh, there's another quadruple A shot. And it basically stands for another animal's ass. So that's what they say. But this was a great day, perfect light, just at the end of the day, and often things happen just at the last moment. We were coming back and we saw this beautiful mother and child just sitting there. He was drinking milk from the mother, and it was just such an intimate time. And you have these ox picker birds who are just sitting there picking the fleas or whatever they're picking off the zebras. And it was just such a magical moment. And I've actually called this one the circle of life, because for me, it's very much, you've got the older teaching the young. Like, we always talk about the wild and how lovely it is, but it's a tough life in the wild. I mean, everything in the wild wants to eat you, you know, like the zebra is a highly desired snack for the lions and for a lot of other animals, the cheetahs, and so they're always, you know, wherever they're anywhere, they're always watching. And here's the mother watching over her young, trying to teach her what to do to make sure she survives for the next generation. So this one's called Circle to Life. Now this one here is another one that I really love. Now this is a cheetah. And I just love the eyes in this cheetah here, because they're just, and we call this print intensity. Because, you know, a cheetah, they're a beautiful animal, but they've got to be always on guard because other cats are after them. They have other things that will try to get them. So they're always, whenever you see cheetahs, and if you see them in groups, they work very well together. One will be looking one direction, one will be looking the other direction. And so they're amazing animals when you're looking at them. And I love this one because Albert Einstein had an amazing saying that said, look deep into nature and then you'll understand everything better. You know, in our world, we're so busy. We're been on this sort of treadmill. And I think this whole COVID situation's given us a chance to reschedule our life or rethink about what are the priorities in our life. You know, for me, here, this one here is just sitting there watching to make sure that it's safe, and not just it's safe, it's also there with some other cheetahs in the group. So for me, it's all about the eyes. And I love these different layers in the shots. When you get layers like this with the grass and it being out of focus, what it does, it tends to create a sense of the third dimension in the shot. So I hope you like that one. It's called intensity. Moving along. Now this one here is called guarded moment. Now when you're often doing wildlife photography, you're in vehicles and you're traveling around, and people can just keep traveling, and it's like you're always missing things, or you're hearing other vehicles saying, oh, this is happening, and everybody goes rushing, especially in India. Now this is in India, and I hate ever being involved in situations where you're stressing the animals or anything like that. Because when it gets like that, I don't think you're going to get the good shots. And, you know, people, you can have lots of cars in some of these situations, all jockeying for the best position. So I determined on this day, I had found this pond, and I said to the people who were with me, I said, you know what, today, let's not go driving around like an idiot, trying to look for this and look for that. Let's just sit at this water hole, because, you know, water is, you know, the essence of life. So let's just sit here instead and let's see what happens. Maybe the wildlife will come to us. And so everybody went, oh, okay. And then as you do, when all of a sudden you do that, you hear other people having sightings, and then you think, oh, we should rush, and oh, let's go off. And I said, look, by the time we get there, it'll be all over anyhow. And none of the sightings we're hearing about were that great. There were some tigers, but they were actually in the bush and you couldn't really get close to them, or there were some other things in grass. And I said, look, let's just sit. We've been here for a while now. Let's just wait a little bit longer. And then finally everybody's getting a little bit edgy, and I said, no, look, I really think something's going to happen. And then just all of a sudden out comes the mother tiger, and she just comes out to the water. And I thought, oh, hang on. She's got cubs. And the next minute she made a few noises, and then down came the cubs. And so here we were, and we just sat there and just watched this moment unfold. And then all of a sudden on the radio, they'd put the word out, oh, these guys have got cubs, and a mother down by a water hole, lapping water. And so fortunately we got our shot, and then on came the entourage, and the mother just said, "This is not cool for my children." So off she went. Now this is another interesting shot. I call this one Aqua Gaze. Now, the moral to the story, and in this book, you're going to get a lot of tips, photographic tips in the book, and they're not just your boring f-stops and camera speeds, although there's some of that technical information in there as well. But there's also a lot more esoteric tips of how to really sense the moment, how to really be ready so that you can anticipate when the things are going to happen. Because to me, I think photographs are really gifts if you're sensitive enough to humble yourself before whatever's going on and be ready for when the moment unfolds. So what was happening, we had a group of us in a car. This is in South Africa. We're in this game park and we were driving around and we were seeing game, but nothing really big, not one of the big cats or anything like that. And often when we go photographing wildlife, we have expectations. And in the car, we had a few people who were after this and after that. And you could sense that there was an uneasiness. They weren't happy because they weren't getting what they wanted. And anyhow, the guide who I was with, he all of a sudden could sense this. And he said to me, because I was sitting with him in the front, he said, "Ken, with all my years with wildlife, I've found there's two important things to really help you get great photos of wildlife." And I said, "Oh, really? So what do you think?" And he said, "Patience and love." And I went, "Okay, I get the patience thing, but what's with this love thing, And he said, "Well, look, what you got to do, you've got to love the fact that you're alive, first of all. That here we are in this car, traveling through this game park where there's wildlife, there's anything can happen. Who knows what we're going to see? And, here you are with these people. You're lucky enough to be able to afford to come and do this, and you're just driving around in this game park, and you've got to have respect for the people you're with. Just think, wow, how wonderful to share this experience together. And then have just a love for everything around you and the wildlife. Just be sensitive to whatever's happening. Be open to that." And I thought, that is so cool. And I thought, that is so true. And then all of a sudden I'd realised I'd been picking up on the expectations of others and getting into being a little bit anxious or, well, when's it going to happen? And I decided, he's right. I'm going to go into the love mode. And so all of a sudden I thought, I don't care what happens and I don't care who's jockeying for the best position or whatever. I'm just going to sit here, relax, and just see what happens and enjoy the day, the fact that I'm alive and with these lovely people. And then I was doing that, and then all of a sudden we come upon this beautiful leopard, an aqua-eyed leopard. I mean, how many of those do you see? And he was just in the perfect place, and he just sat there and going, "Is this okay? Is that okay?" And so I really do believe this is one of the most important things always about your state. If you've lost your peace, you've lost your presence in the place, and you need to always try and maintain that peace no matter what's happening. Now, of course, if one of them starts chasing you, well, you may need a little bit of energy to run quick. So this is another shot, one of our most famous shots now. This one is going to be like the power of one. This one's going to sell out soon. There's not a lot of it left. Now, this was a magical moment. This is again shot with a high-end camera, but it's stitched, so you've got multiple shots. So it's a very large file. So it enables me to do very big prints of it, and you just get amazing detail right down to the eyebrows on the giraffe. But how this happened is one morning with a guide, and this was in Kenya, and this is out in Amboseli, not far from Kilimanjaro. And Kilimanjaro is just in the background. But what happened, the guide said one morning, "Ken, where do you want to go?" And we were in a private conservancy where you could drive off track. We had special permission to drive off track. And I'd seen one giraffe at this pool a couple of days ago. And this is a natural pool. It's not a man-made pool, or it's a spring. And what happens is the giraffes come out of the foothills of Kilimanjaro, and they come down across this plain to these soaks that are down on the plains. And so I said to the guide, look, how about we go there for sunrise and see what happens? And so he said, well, we'll go there, but it doesn't guarantee that you're going to get animals. He said, well, let's just see what happens. And I was there with a good friend who was with me, and he had a bit of a cold at the time. Anyhow, I said, listen, we got there in the dark, and I said, listen, just keep really quiet because we can't move, because we've got to be very dead still, and we'll wait. If any wildlife comes in, we'll wait, and then I'll tell you when the moment's right, so we don't just blow it and go click, 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 click and chase everything off. And he said, that's okay. And anyhow, the sun starts to rise because we're in the dark, and all of a sudden it's coming up and we're looking at the pond and there's nothing there. And the guide said, oh, it doesn't look like there's anything at the pond. And I said, oh, well, you never know. Let's see what happens. And as the lights started to come up, all of a sudden these giraffes started heading towards the pond. And I'm thinking, oh, yes, look at this. This is going to be so good. Anyhow, they started coming, and they were starting to get closer. They were very nervous. Now, the reason they're very nervous is when they're drinking, they're very vulnerable, giraffes, because they're bending down and it takes them a lot of time to get back up quickly. And so and also lions just love to hide in places like this, and they'll wait. And then when the giraffe's in a vulnerable position, they'll just go out and grab them. And if you actually look at the picture, you'll see bones of giraffe that's obviously been taken there at an earlier stage. So we're sitting there and it's just starting to happen. They're starting to settle. And my friend goes, Achoo! And they just all took off. They just scattered. And I just went, oh. And I just went, oh, God, please help us. Like, we've been waiting so long. Oh, please stop them. Anyhow, they stopped. The giraffes just stopped. They all of a sudden stopped. And the guide said, I've never seen that. When giraffes are skittish, they go. They don't stop. They go off to another waterhole. Anyhow, they stopped and they started coming back. And then I said to my friend, you cough, you die. And, not really, but he sort of made sure he wasn't going to cough. We waited for exactly the right moment. And then I went, let's go, bang. And I went, bam, 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 bam. And I got this shot. Now, not long after that, these zebras started to play around. And they went into the pond, and then all the animals just took off. They went off. But after that, the guide said to me, so where do you want to go now? And I said, back to the lodge. I said, what am I going to see as good as that? I want to go back and make sure I've got the shot. So I went back, and as soon as I did the stitch and knew I had it, oh man, I was so excited. So this one's called Fountain of Life, and it's one of our fastest selling prints. And this will be just like the Power of One out there soon, where it's sold out, and the only way you'll be able to buy it is actually off other clients. So on we go. So here's another one called the Big Blue Sky. Now this is also in Kenya, and this is Kilimanjaro in the background. Now Kilimanjaro is often, covered with cloud, and this was just a magical day. And here we are out in the plains, and what happens is a lot of the wildlife at night goes up into the foothills of Kilimanjaro, because there's a lot of forest up there. Then during the day, they come down in search of water and ponds down on the flats. And so what I love about this shot is the contrast of colour. You've got these beautiful rich reds and the beautiful blues, the big blue skies, and I love the puffy clouds. And I just love clouds because I can just sit and watch them for hours, because it's like Play-Doh in the sky. It's making shapes, and often you'll think, oh, look at that. That looks like this, and that looks like that. And I just know there's shapes in this cloud to be found. I found a few, and I'm not going to tell you what they are because you're going to have to find them yourself. But here you've got these three beautiful giraffes that give you scale to the size of this whole scene here. And you can also see bones of some of the animals that have been attacked out on this plain area. But also, I just love these clouds create shadows. Now, you may not be able to see it easily here, but when you come and see it where I am, you'll see these beautiful shadows in the sky that are created from the beautiful bright light. So you're getting this beautiful sweeping pattern in the sky, and then you've got Kilimanjaro. And I just love, because giraffes are a really tall, big animal. But when, in comparison to Kilimanjaro, it really puts things back into scale, doesn't it? So elephants, I love elephants. They're such beautiful animals. And I don't know, I reckon elephants are probably the king of the jungle, because you never see lions really take on a full-size elephant, because, you know, if an elephant got unhappy, he could just go pretty well squash him with his foot. But this is a young male, full of not probably testosterone or whatever they have that's the similar sort of thing. And I've called this one Shall We Dance, because he was trying to show how tough he was, and he was protecting the tribe, well, his mother and they had other baby elephants, and so he's trying to act threatening to us, and he's going, whoa, and carrying on. And, you know, I knew he wasn't going to charge us. My friend in the back, he wasn't so sure, and he's going, oh man, he's coming, because I'm shooting with a pretty wide lens, so he is pretty close. But I just loved the way he was running around and sort of saying, hey, what are you doing? What are you up to? And so just that magical little moment where you caught him with his feet up, back and front, where he's doing a little bit of a dance. So, you know, I love the humour that you can get in elephants. And he's not a real big boy, but he's going to be a big boy one day, that one. So that's called Shall We Dance? Now, this is a bit of a different shot for me. One of the things, colour. When you're getting colour in a scene, in a landscape, it can really help create contrast in a shot where your eye can really get a sense of separation of different elements in the shot, because the different colours create different layers visually for you. So this really helps create a sense of dimension to the shot. And now just remember something that's very important with wildlife photography generally. It's always important to focus on the eyes, because we just naturally always look at the eyes when we look at wildlife shots. If there's eyes in it, you'll be looking at the eyes. Now, generally, if the eyes aren't sharp, good luck, because, you know, if you go to the eyes and they're all fuzzy, it doesn't do a lot for you to engage or connect. So, and also remember, when you are taking photographs, that's one of the keys. What you focus on is what you're directing people's eyes to. So here I did use a large depth of field because I wanted lots of areas in focus. And I called this picture Swirl, because originally I was just playing with two swans and black swans and thinking, oh, they look so beautiful on the blue water. And I had some feed that I got to feed the swans. And then so I started feeding that. And the next minute, it was like these fish came from everywhere. And these are koi carp, and they're meant to be some very special sacred fish. But, you know, I think they were very hungry sacred fish or something. But for me, I just love the two swans, and then you've got all these fish just swirling around, giving the colour. So that's that one. Now this one, normally I don't shoot a lot of birds, but just lately I do like particular birds. And really this one was when I was over in Africa. I was actually teaching another friend actually how to shoot birds at the time. And, you know, generally with birds, you need high speeds, because to stop a bird in flight, you need at least 0.002 of a second. So you can stop the wings, or if you're wanting to stop the wings, if you're wanting blur, maybe a different speed. But this day we came up and I was trying to tell the guy how to shoot birds. And I basically told him, if you want to capture them in flight, the best way is set your camera up correctly on auto tracking. You know, we're going to put it on motor drive sequence. And we're going to make sure you got on speed priority so that you've got at least a 0.002 of a second. And as we go up to the bird, if he stays there long enough, on the count of three, I'll go 1, 2, 3, and then I'll go. And on this particular occasion, that's what we did. And I said, when I go 1, 2, 3, you just hit that burst mode and go for it. And so that's what he did. And he just got this amazing sequence shot of 5 shots of the bird in flight, pin sharp. But at the same time, I shot this on high end, on a phase 1 at the time. And you're talking about an 80 megapixel or bigger than that file. And so with this one, it's all about the detail. And all this in the background, it's not deep etched or anything like that. That's using a white cloud as the background. So this for me, I really love, because I love the colour, and I love, because it was shot in 16-bit colour, you get amazing tonal ranges as it goes through the different tones. And look, what a palette! I mean, how do you mix pink with orange and yellow? It's just amazing how, you know, such a little creature Yeah, God has put so much detail into that beautiful bird. So this one here we call is a lilac-breasted roller. And I do like colourful things, and that's probably one of the things. Now, we might go over to this one over here. Now, we've also got some Australian wildlife in the book too, because, you know, I do love some of the Australian stuff. And I'm falling more in love. It's funny, isn't it? You often take for granted what you have in your own backyard. You travel all around the world to do all these exotic animals. But what I'm realising now is, hey, we've got some really cool animals too. So you're going to be seeing a few more of my shots on local animals as well, especially in this COVID world. It might be the next book. But here's a wombat, and a friend of mine who's very good at doing wildlife photography too, a guy called Charles Davis. He took me down to the high country and was showing me how to, you know, find wombats. We had a great time. I love actually working with other photographers from time to time, because look, we're all in this journey together. We're all telling a story, and I love when people come on trips with me, because there's nothing better than sharing moments with other people, because when you get together, you can always, you know, say, oh, I remember that time. And man, it was really cold. I had my assistant there with me called Danny, who's a lovely lady. And Danny, she's kept falling down through the snow, because we're walking with snowshoes trying to find these wombats. And finally we found this one, and he'd been called Matilda. We named him. He's a very Australian name. And so he's just come out of his burrow, and I'm right down on the snow, not far from him, and just trying to focus it, and it's cold, but it was well worth it. And, you know, people said, oh, why didn't you Photoshop the stick out? And I said, why would you do that? I love that extra element, you know, and I don't like sanitizing shots. Some people with Photoshop, they get carried away and they do too much. They sanitize things. They try and remove things. Look, I love having the different layers in a shot. So this one here we've called Matilda, the Snowy Mountain Country. Now, we've had this one out, but we've put it up because this is definitely in the book. Now, here's another one, and this one is called I See You. Now, this is a jaguar. Now, these are one of the most powerful cats you'll ever imagine, because their jaw strength is incredible. And they will actually sit here on the banks of the Amazon or on the rivers, waiting for crocodiles to come by. And they'll actually jump in, grab a crocodile and pull it out onto a bank. Now, that's some serious power to do that. I mean, who'd try and jump on a crocodile and bring him out on a bank, you know? So this is how powerful they are. Now, this particular one, he was playing hide and seek. He was trying to hide, and we saw that he was there because we'd seen him before, and he's trying to hide in there. So we nosed the boat right up really close to this, and I was able to get an angle just through the leaves to get a view at him, and he's looking at me. And the reason I've called it I See You, because I think he's saying, you come any closer, I'm coming in your boat. And that would not be pretty. But I love shooting through foliage, because this is a really interesting thing, shooting through foliage, because what it allows you to do, it gives you that sense of the third dimension straight away, because you've got the outer focus areas. And you see how immediately your eyes go to the eyes and to the focused areas. So that one's called I See You, and this is in the Amazon. And they're often referred to, the jaguars, as the jewels of the Amazon. And they truly are such a majestic animal. And look at his eyes, so beautiful. Now, this is shot on film. This one is, we put this one in too. This is one of our well-known shots. And this is down on Macquarie Island. Now, Macquarie Island is probably one of my favourite locations. You know, everybody goes down to the Antarctic, which I love too. But I really love Macquarie Island and one of the things when you're shooting penguins is the rule that you're not meant to go any closer than so many metres. But unfortunately, penguins don't know the rules, and they don't care about the rules. And I was sitting here doing this shot on my tripod, and I was down low. And in the end, they were coming up so close, they're like pecking on my lens going, tick, 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 and shoot, shoot. I was having to shoo them away. They were getting so close. But I just love this. This is like all of these beautiful penguins here, and you've also got the seals down the back here. And so this is like a pristine wilderness down there, and beautiful blue water. It's so clean. And this one here, we've just called it the Royal Gathering because there's a lot of royal penguins there, and Macquarie Island. And you know, this can have some pretty heavy weather down there, and it can be pretty cool. But I'd love to go down there actually and spend some more time down there because it's an amazing place. Now, here's another one. We'll go over to this one. Now, I was talking before about polar bears and how I was there with a group, and that all the polar bears had actually, the night they left, all the polar bears had taken off. And they were all saying, "Oh, Ken, we're so sorry that the polar bears have gone. And here you are, you got another week and, you know, you won't have the polar bears." And so in a way I said, that's okay, I'll just have a rest and plan something else, you know, well, it'll be fun. And anyhow, so the next day I got the helicopter, went looking for the bears, and I found some of them. And then what happened is I decided to go out and shoot these rare breed of sleigh dogs. And they actually live out in the snow because they don't want them in any way to lose condition or to become soft. And they don't even have kennels. Like I'm thinking, why wouldn't you give them kennels? So the night of the blizzard, they were in that blizzard. And when I went looking for these dogs, I went to look for them because I'd heard about them. And when I actually saw them, I couldn't even see them. There was just piles. And then all of a sudden the pile gets up and goes, blah, 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 shakes all this ice off it. And if you actually look at this shot, you'll still see how it's got ice all through its fur. And, you know, fur from sleigh dogs or wolves and things like that is an amazing insulator when it comes to, you know, Arctic conditions or any really cold conditions. So what happens is I'm sitting here playing with these dogs who've sort of just come out of their little snow drifts, and all of a sudden, unbeknownst to us, there were polar bears that had been put in what they call polar bear prison. And what happens is in Churchill, some of the polar bears get so frisky that they'll get taken out of town, but then they'll come back again because they think, man, there's food to be had in that town. And they're starving because they're waiting to get out on the frozen ice to get some food. And so they become rather dangerous. And so if they become too dangerous, they will actually capture them and put them in polar bear prison until the snow actually, or to the ice forms, and then they'll release them out of polar bear prison. Now, I wasn't aware of this at the time, that there were still polar bears in lockup. And so while I'm here playing with the dogs, they've gone and let out 7 polar bears out of polar bear prison, which is not far from me. So I'm sitting there with my friend, and all of a sudden these polar bears start coming towards us. We go, wow, what's going on here? And he figured it out. He said, oh, they must have been released from the polar bear prison. And so this big bear came over and started looking to play with the dog. And I'm thinking, is he playing with the dog or is he going to eat the dog, you know? And my guide's thinking, this is not going to be good. And we weren't sure what was going to happen. But then I thought, no, they're playing. They're just playing because they're throwing each other around. Like the dog is biting a polar bear. That is the last thing I'd even think of doing, biting a polar bear, but the dog was doing it. And then the polar bear is biting him, but only playfully, and they're slapping each other with their paws. And I thought, I've got to shoot this. So I shot it. My other guy, who's my guide, he was too scared to shoot it because he thought, no, this is a problem. And what had happened is we had 2 other polar bears who had decided to sneak up on us. So I'm not sure if they were maybe doing a decoy dance or something, but he kept an eye on those and they were sneaking up on us. But I got the shot, and then finally we had to retreat to the car because 2 other polar bears were definitely tracking us. And so in the end, we're in the car, and no kidding, on my side, right near the glass, there's a polar bear just looking at me through the glass like this, and on the other side there's another polar bear, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, but only a sheet of glass between the polar bear on this side and that side. So it was just an amazing experience to be with these polar bears, and I call this one Share the Love, because to me it's just such an amazing thing that 2 animals who live in hostile conditions can learn to get on. Because he's hungry. They're both probably very hungry. But how wonderful that they can get on. We can learn a lot of lessons from some of the wildlife, We need to learn to get on a bit more. Now, here's another bird shot. I always loved eagles. They're such a majestic bird. And this one is called Soaring Majesty. I'm proud to say that our Prime Minister has one of these. He bought one, which is so lovely that he has one of these. Now, to get this shot, we had to stay in a hide. Now, generally I don't do birds, but I had a really good friend who passed away called Barry Follett, and very special man in my life. And he loved birds. And this particular day, one of the guys said, look, we're going to go to a bird hide. Who would like to come? And most people who know me say, oh, I'm not really into birds, I'm into the big game. And I said, you know what? I want to go. And everybody went, what? Birds? Hide? I said, yeah, I'm going to go. And, because I think Barry, my mate, would have loved this. I'm going to go for him, And so I went, and we're in this hide, and it's cold, as you can see. That white stuff is snow and ice. And it was cold, but it was cool. We're sitting in this hide, and it had its own issues because we had to keep making sure our lenses are not fogged up and ice is forming on lenses. And so we were waiting, and it took about probably 6 hours or something. And we saw different birds and woodpeckers and different birds coming. But I was just hoping to get an eagle, And anyhow, right towards the end of the day, just when it seemed like we weren't going to necessarily get the eagle, all of a sudden this beautiful pair of eagles just comes up and they just land on this tree not far from me, and they go as if to say, now Ken, are you ready? You got your stuff together because I'm going to come your way. And I thought, right, I'm ready. And then all of a sudden I had it on tracking focus, and then this eagle just came flying right at me. And what I love about it is the beautiful background. I love, with birds, I think you need a really clean background so there's no distraction. And I love the white again, and you can actually see the textures in the white when you see it as a print. But it's pin sharp on the eagle, and I just love the way, look at how the 7 talons at the end of the feathers he just poses. He just goes, tick, you're right, Ken. And so, I really believe you get looked after. And so that one's in honour for my mate Barry. And I'm doing a few more birds over time because they are beautiful animals. Now, this one was interesting. I was invited over to Abu Dhabi to help brand Abu Dhabi. And one of the things that they have a lot of over there is flamingos and beautiful waters. Now, they're under threat because a lot of that development is not being very good because it's affecting the grounds of where the flamingos go and breed. And so I was determined to make sure I captured some of this to make sure that in the development of Abu Dhabi that they were looking after their wildlife. Because, rather than just building all these big buildings, it's very important to look after whatever wildlife you've got, because it's a resource that you can't just replace. And so we're in a helicopter flying along, and we came down low, and just as I'm coming down low, I'm hanging out on a harness out of the helicopter, and the birds are just rising up as if they're walking across the water in flight. So that was just a fun shot. And I just love the colour and the contrast of the beautiful turquoise blue and the beautiful flamingos taking flight. And I call this one a rise because it's like they're coming up. So this one is actually called Facing the Storm. And this is actually an image of 3 polar bears heading out into a blizzard. And so the blizzard's actually going on, and it's amazing how heavy this blizzard got. In the end, we couldn't even see the polar bears. So there's often people saying, trying to shoot a polar bear in a snowstorm. Well, this is it. And I love this shot because you've got the 3 bears, which is lovely. You've got a mother and 2 children. Now, she's really on the edge here because polar bears, other male bears or other bears could actually attack her young. And one of her biggest jobs is to try and protect those youngs. And so not only is she facing a blizzard, but she's also always watching. And when you look at it, it's nice and soft. And the reason it's soft is because we're shooting through layers of lots of snow coming through the air, pelting down at us. And so that one is called Facing the Storm. And now here's another one, which is a very rare phenomenon. And it was just amazing because here we had this polar bear just lying down on a pond, a frozen pond. And all of a sudden, I had this vertical rainbow. And I thought, a vertical rainbow? Where's the rest of it, And the guy said, well, they're called a sundog. They're a rare phenomenon that happens when you get these ice crystals, and they're like hexagonal ice crystals. They actually have a name, and if you want to know more about it, go online and you can see the story, and I tell what the phenomenon is. But what it does, and as you see it, you see all these crystals, that are actually ice crystals, create this vertical rainbow pattern and all this amazing light. And they actually call this phenomenon, or this like not snow, but these ice crystals, when they form, they're called diamond dust. So I call this one diamond dust, because here's the bear just laying down in dream time, having his little dream nap with this beautiful rainbow and getting sprinkled with diamond dust. And here's another one. This one, look, for me, it's not just about shooting wildlife. It's about shooting really beautiful wildlife. This is one of the most beautiful cats. And to get this shot, you had to get down really low. I call this one regal vigilance, because, he don't ever make the mistake with wildlife that they're not knowing exactly where you are and what you're up to. And he's just looking there. Now, he's off looking because he's hiding in the grass, waiting for any wildlife who's stupid enough to get too close and not pay attention, because he will just spring into action at any moment. He's just like a coiled spring, just waiting to go whoop, like that. So, and he's in perfect condition. Like, he's he's got a whole pride. He's at the top of his game. And so I love these ones. And I love also shooting through some of the grass, because that helps give you, again, layers in your shot and helps add to the sense of dimension. But what a beautiful cat that one is. And regal vigilance. Now, this one I've called the patriarch. Now, this patriarch, we were out on the plains, and this is the smallest size I would do this. I really want someone who's got a wall big enough, because this is shot with large format. So we could do this shot like the size of this wall. And so then if you had it done really big, you could have it done sort of elephant size. So you could say, now let's talk about the elephant in the room. And the detail is so fine. You can see every hair and every little bit of texture in the grass. Now, to get this shot, I'm hanging right out of the car, right down low. I'm only shooting inches from the ground, and I'm shooting with an extremely wide lens. And so I'm only 2 meters away from that big bull elephant. Now, we'd been spending some time with him, so he got to know us. And so I felt comfortable with him. But you've always got to watch out, because, at any moment, if he charges, he could just take your car out, because this is a big elephant. So that's the patriarch. And I love it black and white, because it's all about the shape, the size. And, I love black and white too, but I love colour. Now, this is one that is shot with a high-end camera again. So the detail is mind-blowing. You could also do this huge size if you've got a big enough wall for it. But this size is beautiful too. And this is a pod of elephants going across, or a group of elephants, or it's called a parade, actually, a parade of elephants. And that's why I've called it Elephant Parade. But again, you're getting, this is back in Amboseli in Kenya, and they're going across this beautiful red dirt, and then it's in the summertime, so they're coming out of the mountains to come down to get the water that's down in some of the marshes and swamps. But it's just amazing, because you've got the little baby elephants, and the whole group always protects the young. So that's that one. And here's another one, a black and white. And for me, this is called eye to eye. And there's an old Yiddish proverb that says, the eyes are the mirror to the soul. So it is. And for me, the main point of focus here is just its eyes, because I don't know, this is a very simple shot for me, but it's more about just the face, and you can just see such wisdom and strength in those eyes. This line, he doesn't need to do self-improvement courses or need to be reassured that he's okay. He is one powerful beast. He knows he's a king in his own right. And so here again, the eyes, and this one's called the eye of the tiger. And this is a beautiful tiger. You know, sometimes now when I'm shooting wildlife, not being a snob, but I'm looking for beautiful cats or cats in their prime. Because sometimes cats can also be damaged because there's different stages when they're young and gangly. It's like, ooh. And then you get them when they're in their prime. And then later on, you can get them when they're getting pretty beaten up because all of a sudden it's hard to be the king. You know, in the jungle, even the lions at some stage are under threat from the other people who want to take them off the throne. So if we think politics is bad or life in our jungle is bad, I'm telling you, animals in the real jungle, it's not an easy gig. And so here you've got this beautiful tiger, and you know, it's all to me about the eyes and just the colours and the detail in this one. And here another one, this one was shot in Sri Lanka, and this is an elephant, and this one's called Happy Days, because that elephant was having so much fun. And you know, not long after that, he decided he'd also cover me and my camera with a trumpet full of water. So that's most of the animal shots that we've got now. There's other ones that also you'll be able to see online if you go online. I also put in a new classic Australian landscape because I just had to put this one in. And this one's called Sacred Heart. And this is out at Uluru. Again, shot on high detail. And this was when we were having big rains out there. And so you've got all these tiers or paths of water coming down the rock. And when you're getting close, you see all the detail. And in here, when you look at this, you'll see faces of elders and all sorts of stuff in this. Now, Uluru is one of the most sacred places for the Indigenous people. They believe it's the centre of all dreaming. So it's a very significant part for them. And this pool, Mutajula, which means basically water for life, is the most permanent general water supply they would have. If this dried up, they knew they would be in trouble and they'd have to move on in search of water. And so here we've got this beautiful, the rain happening, and it was just really eerie light. And it's so funny because I was the only one there because all the tourists, it's raining. And they thought that was a bad thing. I'm thinking, hello, this is rare, this is fantastic, you should be staying, get wet, you know, you're not going to die of cold, it's hot out here. And no, we've got to get back to our hotels. I'm saying, look, this was an amazing thing. And I love here because it just gets me, you've got this beautiful tree here, and I just know there's another magical pond up there. Hopefully one day it'll be great to be able to see up there, but just the knowledge of it being there, to me, is more exciting than probably actually ever been there. Just that, your mind wants to imagine what's there. So there we have it. I just put that in. And so I'll just show you some of the other things that we've got now. Some of the other products we've also specially released for this exhibition. Now we also have some of the smaller prints so that we've got something for everyone. And this is one of our 2000 edition prints. And this one is a beautiful baby cheetah cub. And it's called Innocence. It's quite funny because he does look so innocent. But actually, when I had my assistant there, Glenn, all of a sudden he was so taken in, he was just giving it a pat because we were able to actually get that close to the cats. It just jumped onto his shoulder and bit him. But fortunately, it was only a playful thing. But don't those eyes look so innocent of that beautiful little cheetah cub? And there's different ones. There's another wombat one, and there's different ones in that range as well. Now, what we're doing too is, for me, it's important that we have products for all ranges because, I don't want my work just to be collected by collectors only. I want it to be able to be, people appreciate the beauty of nature wherever they are. So we've just developed some new products which are coasters, but they're done in Australia, 100% made in Australia. And they're actually done with a product that's actually infused into the boards. And so they're very robust and very solid, and they won't scratch. But I just thought these would be beautiful things to just put in your house, or if you tableware, good Christmas gifts. So they come in sets of 6. You've got the coasters. And again, don't forget about the book. I really believe people are going to love this book for Christmas, and you can guarantee they won't have it because it's just come out. So, yeah, we've got things for all ranges. So I'll show you a few more things too. Now, also another gift idea we have is the calendars. We've done a wildlife calendar, the Walk in the Wild wildlife calendar. And the more you get, the cheaper they are, but these are a great little gift, and they've been designed especially this size, so they're cheap to send anywhere around the world. Obviously, we still have our classic Australiana collections, and there's with inspirational quotes or pertinent quotes for wildlife. We also have jigsaws over here. We've been doing jigsaws for a long time, and it's just so amazing that when COVID came along, all of a sudden Scott Morrison made a recommendation about maybe you should do a jigsaw with your family on the weekend. So we got slammed. We've been selling so many jigsaws. I think we sold within 2 weeks over a year's supply. But we've got some of the classics there, one of the classic ones there, done as jigsaws. And you know what, I think it's been great because a lot of people, it's great doing jigsaws rather than having to do electronic games and all these stupid things on your phone. Because, you know, when you're doing that, you're so isolated. But when you're doing a jigsaw, you're sitting down with people and you're having fun, you know, and you're talking to each other. And I must admit, I did one of my own jigsaw puzzles. I did one of the bigger ones, and some of them can be really difficult, but some people love them, the more difficult they are, but there's a whole range of new wildlife ones. So these are a special sort of poster we've done, so they're very economical for people. They're still done on very good quality products. This is two beautiful Lions brothers who would hunt together, and called Brothers in Arms in South Africa. And this one's Linus with her cubs, a little cub after feeding off their mother. And the whole thing about this is I've put them with quotes, and there's different sorts of quotes that you can get, and they're called posters of purpose because the whole idea is to give you encouragement. So when you look at them, if you're having a bit of a bad day, like here's a quote from Bob Marley: "You never know how strong you are until being strong is the only choice you have." And that's often that's what's happened through COVID for a lot of us. You know, we're stronger than we believe, and especially when we work together. So we did the special range. Go online and you'll see more about that. And we're always working on new product ranges. So keep on our website because we're trying to come up with different ideas so that there's something for everybody, so they can put a bit of the beauty of creation into their home. So now I'd like to introduce you to a new product that we've just had, and they're cushion covers, and you can have cushions in them obviously. And we're really proud of this new product because it just puts a bit of the beauty of creation in your house. So here we have different ones. So they're just coming in now. So to find out about those, you'll have to go online to kenduncan.com. I'm now going to be hanging around for another hour, ready to answer any questions you may have. So just pop them in the comments below and we'll get back to you. So let's have some fun. Thank you for joining me on this virtual tour. I got to eat all the canapes and drink the champagne, which was fun. So thanks for coming. I'd just like to remind you, so for all our VIPs, there's going to be a 25% discount on all of the wildlife prints for up till the 30th of November. If you aren't a VIP, it's very simple. All you have to do is join online, and it costs you nothing to do that at all. And also, if you're a VIP member, we can always let you know about new products or special releases at any time. So thanks again for coming on the virtual tour. And look, when you put beautiful prints on your wall or wildlife in your house, it really does something to you. It really helps you experience being on safari just about every day of your life. So thanks once again, and hope to see you again, maybe even in our gallery.